But anyway, I do want to go through this monthly report, but I will preface it with this. This is both, what is it, like November and December piled into one monthly report, which we're already at the end of January nearly. So a lot of the things that are in this report are things that we know, but a lot of other things in this report are things that we knew a little bit about and now know a lot more about, and things that we may not have known about. So looking towards the future of 319, or most likely 318.2 or 3 or whatever, they'll pretend to call 319, but it will actually be a 318, light or whatever. So we're going to do a bit of more skimming than we normally do, as I think most of the news is quite old from this. But I do want to try to highlight some new stuff. Twitch chat, if I am missing anything, if I go past something that is like a thing worth highlighting, please let me know. All right, and I'll jump back. But we're going to start out with AI features up here above me. And they ended the year supporting investigating, fixing bugs for Alpha 318. A lot of it is like that. So this one is mostly Squadron 42 related. But a lot of this is about AI traversal and NPCs moving through things that they've never moved through before, as far as I know. Elevators. For one, vehicles. Another, driving vehicles. Another one that looked to be able to look through glass and see people through glass, which right now they can't do, which is interesting. Animation team is all facial animations. They have been for a while. Character art has all been frontier work outfits, which is all pyro stuff, I believe. And then fauna. And then the Duster faction. I'm not familiar who the Dusters are. I can't remember where they reside or if that's a viable thing for us to care about, because it really only matters if it's a Crusader thing, essentially. Then ship art. They're talking about a lot of past ships. I was sort of unsure, and I'm still unsure about the Crusader spirit. It is progressing through the white box phase. But there are times with ships where they are in the white box phase. Dusters are on Daymar. Cool, thank you. So that is something we should care about then. Where ships stop at the white box phase. I don't think Bandit Merchantman is the example of this. Bandit Merchantman is the exception, right? But sometimes, they want to ensure that it's they can exactly what they say here. The biggest challenge has been ensuring that the escape raffle on the VIP variant is fully functional at this early stage, so we can avoid extra work in the future. And what that could mean is just making sure that everything works in white box and makes sense, and then we go on to finish ships that we actually want to. But it could be that this is something that they prioritized and put ahead of other things for whatever reasons that they have. The bulk white box work is also completed for an unannounced vehicle, and development began on an all-new small ship. It's an interesting way of putting it. An all-new small ship. They didn't call it a starter. A small ship. Perhaps a snub fighter, maybe? Yeah, that would be my guess. Community is really never worth reading. Very rarely is it worth reading. It's just like, hey, these are all the sales we did. Engine is something I typically skip because I don't usually understand. But as they say here, there is a major milestone that was completed towards completing the Gen 12 transition and providing a Vulcan back end. So that's kind of a big deal. There's a new render mode for the clouds. To be honest, I think the clouds still look just as dotty as I've seen them in the past. So I have not experienced better clouds, but if you have, let me know. And then something with a better way of compiling shader caches. So that should be cool. Arena Commander. This is our first look, I think, at, well, 319. I think one of the first things that we are seeing in what we will call 319 for now and whatever they decide to call it later, and that is them continuing to work on the Classic Race refactor, which is including them taking the Snake Pit, Icebreaker, Miner's Lament, and making them in play-testable states in Arena Commander, which is for people who want to practice racing for the actual PU, like a real live race. Death has a little bit less consequence in Arena Commander, right? You just pick yourself back up and go again, which is way, way, way more exciting for me personally. And that's cool. Finally, for racing, work was completed on Old Vanderval, Rickford, and Defford link racetracks. Those are all the 3 racetracks that we currently have in Arena Commander. I wonder what they did with them and how to improve them. Front end, new game mode selection. So they're really spending time on this. Adding turrets to Jericho Station and Dying Star maps to either assist or hinder the player in Vandal and Pirate Swarm game modes. Interesting. And then they also supported the soft death feature, which I find interesting. Star Marine will have multiple rounds. And then work was completed on the rework system used to ban or allow vehicles and weapons in each game mode. This system provides greater customization for developers, such as setting up a new mode that only allows a certain vehicle. This is used in Alpha 318 during filtered duel mode, squadron battle, and battle royale to only allow small and medium combat ships. The first passed on new death cameras, which point to the player that killed you while moving and zooming dynamically. This was submitted and enabled for all game modes too. I'm hoping that the ban and allow things happen eventually, where we can have like 5v5s, but each team chooses to ban certain ships, sort of League of Legends style at some point. Is that this back end feature will eventually come to the front end for players. I think that would be really cool. And then finally, work was submitted for an unannounced update to a classic Arena Commander mode, which will further be detailed in the coming months. I think there's only one thing that could be, and that's the capture the flag mode. I can't remember the name of it though. Either that or squadron battle, you know. And then features, characters and weapons. So this was cargo grid snapping. We already know that. This is a big one, okay? This Capture the Core. Yes, thank you. That was the name of it. They also revisited the feature behind dragging an unconscious body to a medical bed. This is being made more generic so that bodies can be placed into other appropriately sized objects. So this is, again, I think something related to 319, which is bounties. Yes. So Bounty Hunter V2 is something that I think was a 319 planned feature. And we'll have to see when we see the 319 cards. But at the very least, work seems to be done on taking an unconscious or down player and moving them to something other than just a medical bed, which is really good. And then team also supported the upcoming patch release with Respawn Reconnection Flow. None of that stuff matters. Then gameplay features, hull scraping, filler station, great. The team also continued with resource management, including life support and artificial gravity. This included a redesign of previous engineering UI, last seen at CitizenCon, to give a clearer, more modern design to support the vast amount of functionalities that will be expected. Again, not a 319 feature. This is definitely beyond 319. And we will see resource management pushed heavily as major content that will be coming this year that could possibly fall off this year. So please prepare yourselves that if it does come, it will come on so few ships that it won't feel like it makes a huge impact. And if it doesn't come, it would not be a surprise for a 2023 feature. It is a big thing, and it's going to touch a lot of ships, and it touches a lot of things, and they are definitely going to run into problems, and it is definitely going to take time. Vehicle tractor beams. Groundwork began for vehicle tractor beams. The next steps will be creating the tractor beam UI and expanding the feature to support its proper functionalities. A must for me personally. That's right here, by the way, above my head. It is a must for me personally, somebody who really likes to do mining. Vehicle tractor beams could potentially make it a situation where you can move certain purple rocks to a place where you want them to be. Also, taking pieces of salvage, moving them out of a certain area and bringing them to a safe area to salvage. Ships that you want to repair, possibly. It just... the whole other thing is this enables 3 vehicles, possibly more that I'm not aware of, to have their true functionality, which are the mole, the prospector, and the raft. So vehicle tractor beams basically takes the cargo that was unable to be used and now exist. I know that there's other vehicles that have tractor beams on them, guys, but what do you use those tractor beams for? What makes them different, right? The things that we can't do currently with the mole and prospector are because we don't have vehicle tractor beams. Then I think the biggest update for me personally, and I think the biggest update in the entire report. Now, we already knew this. I was very lucky to have the developer who works on Salvage. He just happened to come by my stream one time. He's only ever been here once. And I took that moment and I said, hey, why do you do mining the way you do it? And he said, you will, and I discussed what I thought was the way that things, if I had an idea in my head how things should work, this is how I would think. Why did you choose the choices that you guys did? So I understand better. And he goes, you'll really like the next update. And he just left it at that. And this is the details that we have about the next update so far. Very vague, but given that information that he gave in the Twitch chat and this, I am very excited for this. Very excited. The mining update continued with changes made to the Argo Mole and Misc Prospectors to create bigger differences between the individual and multiplayer aspects. The first rebalancing pass was done for all mining heads, sub-items, and gadgets to support the updated approach to resource distribution. The last 2 words of that sentence are key. Resource distribution was the important thing, and everything else was balanced to deal with it. And that was my question, is... essentially, I didn't ask it this way, but this is the question that I have. Every industrial vehicle that we have in real life, what is their purpose? Why were they made? They were made to solve a problem for the resources that need to be collected in the real world, things that already existed. Star Citizen, in its tier 1 version of mining and anything related to industry, the ship is made first. And what they use the ship for was made second. Right? Think cargo, the rock, the ROC. They knew they wanted to make a mining ground vehicle, so then they made a new resource that ground vehicle collects. That's not really how the real world works, right? The resources are out there, and the vehicles are made to effectively extract those resources. This time, they went with the approach of resource distribution and then balanced everything to extract those resources, it sounds like. Very, very exciting. We don't know the details yet. We will in the new year. We will when we start seeing ISCs, I'm sure. And then the rest of the sentence says, this involves new variances for minables to ensure they're distributed in a more controlled fashion, whatever that means, throughout Stanton and support future crafting releases. So not only that, but maybe we can expect crafting features as well on the Mole and Prospector, similar to what we see on the salvage vehicles, the Vulture and the Reclaimer. So very interesting. Very gameplay-driven solutions. Something I have nothing to complain about. Something I am so excited to see. I basically put out there that what I just said before is that the resources and how they're distributed, how big they are, how difficult they are to mine. I mean, think of a scenario like this, guys. The Argo Mole should have very powerful lasers, was kind of my point of view, and the Prospector should not. And there should be variances and characteristics of rocks where you wouldn't use an Argo Mole on it, but you would use a Prospector. And there's some that you would use an Argo Mole that you couldn't use a Prospector, right? Just based off of simple ideas. And he just goes, you will like what we're doing in the next patch. That's the information we have. Very exciting. I cannot wait for this future of mining. This is essentially mining going from tier 0 to tier 1, in my opinion. Very exciting. Mission features team spent the end of year improving stuff like that. Using feedback from Evocati for security post Correa. These are all things that we know because we've been playing it quite regularly. And yeah, security post Correa has gradually gotten a lot better. And we'll have to see. Chat, can you help 2/3? He's asking about crafting. Can you just give him the quick rundown on crafting in 3.18? So I can keep going through the report here. It's a long one. Vehicle team worked towards porting the transit system into 3.18, which still needs work, obviously. And yeah, none of this is really relevant. Graphics, not so much. I have to sneeze. I'm just a little sniffly today. River Tech. More recently, work began on the Asteroid SDF to support new primitives. The team also progressed with hardware-assisted terrain instancing to improve the CPU submission time footprint. Okay. A new local space for terrain vehicles or verticals representation was introduced. All right. I'm not sure. Water simulation for water object interactions. We'll have to see. It seems like nobody in... Oh, no, Jab got it. Yeah, the Vulture and Reclaimer can craft multi-tools now, basically. So hopefully that helps that guy. Lighting. I'm not seeing much there, personally. In-game branding from Montreal, they did Correa, which I think they did a really good job with. You'll see probably a video on that either today or tomorrow on my main channel, SaltEMike. So get subscribed to see that. We do take a look at the actual location as well as what you can do there. Now, this team was originally created for what, guys? Quality of life improvements. As far as I'm aware, I don't see anything working on quality of life improvements to make the new player experience better. This is all event-based stuff for selling things. I'd really like the game to sell itself. And this was a team that I was very excited for, where it was going to improve the experience for the new player and allow the game to sell itself a little bit. And it appears that that team has now been shifted to another marketing experience. Surprise, surprise. EU locations, Pyro stuff, which is, again, I'm going to brush off Pyro at this point, given what we know. We're not getting Pyro until the end of next year, beginning of this year, beginning of next year. It still feels like 2022. So I honestly don't care. Like, wow, they progressed on Pyro. Who cares? Until I know they progressed on server meshing, who cares? That's just how I feel about it. This is a big one. This is a 319/320/322 sometime hopefully in the new year feature. EU Locations 2 worked alongside the US-based PU team to add new cargo elevators into existing hangars, which will be used during the updated cargo gameplay. That is a big important feature that takes. This is what I wanted to see, and I hope this continues. Cargo refactor comes. It's not the full cargo refactor. The full cargo refactor would be, changing a lot more and having it be a lot more in depth than what we have now. Part of that depth is buying cargo from a station, it being in your hangar, and then you choose to put it in your own ship yourself manually, or use cargo timers to have it be done automatically. And taking the step to continue to work on the cargo refactor and not just say, well, that's the tier 0 version, everybody. We'll see you later. We're going to work on some Squadron 42 stuff. Talk to you soon, is a very big positive for me. Very excited about that. And I'm very much looking forward to continuing that. Pre-production of Local Law Office began, which will be essential for several upcoming gameplay loops. Perhaps more of a look at what Bounty Hunter V2 might look like. They also worked on IAE and the new player experience, the latter which was involved in improving existing landing zones for new visitors. EU Sandbox 2 wrapped up the year. And to be honest, this sentence is probably why the branding team was doing something else. If they're going to rework landing zones, the branding team probably has to wait for that work to be finished. So this sounds like a dependency for them. EU Sandbox 2 wrapped up the year with further exploration and experimentation for underground facilities. That's another one. Don't care. And they began looking at improving it and adding to Microtech's Forest. Okay. Narrative. They essentially added in the backstory for all the racing organizations in the community and made them one company or group, which is called WildStar Racing. So the collection of the Star Citizen racing community has now been put into, I guess, canon as WildStar Racing, so everyone can point to themselves as a member of WildStar Racing, essentially, which I think is very cool. Guys, this is so exciting. I didn't see this when I did my first brief run through. For future patches, this is not a Promise 319 feature. Narrative began planning new mining and salvage missions, will help expand the career choices available through the contract manager. Work also continued on investigation missions. I mean, this one sentence just tells you that if they got narrative on it, they have a clear design on what they want to do and how they want it to work. I don't know how long it will take to make it, but it just kind of means that they have an idea of what they're doing with those. And, narrative seems to be not an end step, but like sort of an in-between step, which is... I hope that is a big hope for 2023 for me. Very much so. It's funny. Don't sleep on the narrative section in these monthly reports. They do give you some information. Interactables. Deployables. Apparently, they ran into some problems. So these were like deployable shields and things that we've seen in videos around Arena Commander. Or I should say Star Marine. In December, fixes were made for current in-game coffee machines. Okay. Progress was also made on the new template for asset to be integral. That will be integral to bounty hunting, which also runs alongside Environment Arts Bounty Hunting Office. Template for an asset. You would think this would be handcuffs, possibly. Right? That would be my guess. Taser. Oh, taser. Not a bad idea either. Yep. Then they showed whatever this is. Kind of confused. Flammable. You seem to be liquid canisters of some kind. So I'm not sure what those are. This is a lot of last year stuff. head scans, all whatever, you know. Online services, PES, character repair. Hopefully it will replace character reset soon, which will be nice. Live tools. Not much to point out there. Turbulent has their new website thing. I pointed that out on Week in Review this past week. They're looking at the new user flow on the website. Much needed feature, believe it or not. In 10 years in. Okay, I don't see much there, but big PHP 8 upgrade to the website. Not sure what that means, but yeah, I know it meant a lot to them. And the final one is VFX. Usually they talk about the star map here. This time it was salvage effects from 3.18, and they're going to redo their library to make it smaller or something because it's been too bloated. So that was that. That was the monthly report, guys. Let me know what's your favorite feature coming out. I think mine is definitely the update to mining with included mining/salvage missions. Very, very exciting. Aside from that, it was very much a look in the past, but a slight look into the future. And I am very much looking forward to the near future and really hoping those missions come soon. So, man, that's so exciting.